Hi guys, so today I'm going to be making this video about my journey with endometriosis. I also just wanted to make this video for awareness because every single one of my friends, not a single one of them, know or have heard of endometriosis before this. So endometriosis is when tissue similar to the inside of your womb grows in other organs outside the womb, like your ovaries, your bowel, your bladder, lungs, your diaphragm. There's even cases of it growing in your brain. It can pretty much grow anywhere inside of you. The endometriosis tissue basically bleeds every month with your period, but it can cause pain all throughout your cycle. And there are different stages of how severe the amount of tissue found is, but the pain doesn't define how much you have. And it can also cause your organs to stick together and form adhesions. My right ovary actually is stuck to the front of my uterus, which is what I found out in an MRI. So from 10 years old, when I first started my period, I knew something was wrong because of how heavy my periods were. The amount of times I went to my doctors about it was insane. I have probably been to the doctors about 30 times in the last 7 years to do with my periods. They just told me that there was nothing they could do. And also, when I first started my period, ever since then I've had really painful periods, and I knew that I could possibly have endometriosis because my mum also has it. But when I was younger, I used to just kind of brush it off, like, no, that's not what it is. Like, I just didn't want that to be true because I saw how hard my mum struggled with this from like as young as I can remember, and how hard it was for her. I couldn't even imagine going through that myself, but here we are. And it's so sad to think that 1 in 10 women go through this, and most of them are just going to the doctors, you know, telling them what's wrong. The doctor's just sending them home saying, no, you've just got heavy periods, you know, just got painful periods, suck it up, there's nothing wrong, like, it's normal. And the sad thing is, it's not normal, and so many people don't know that, and they really need to. But luckily, because of my mum, she's always kind of, you know, fought back and told the doctors, like, no, this is not okay. Every single time was getting worse and worse and worse, and I was really struggling, especially when I started high school. There was like older children there. There were so many more people. From that age, I feel like people are embarrassed of their period, like they don't want to talk about it. I find it really hard because since the first period I had in high school, they don't offer you free period products for once, which is ridiculous, like it's 2019. And I was so embarrassed because of how heavy they were. I was self-conscious. I thought I was just leaking all the time, which I was a lot of the time, you know, sitting on the seat and then seeing your little mark on the seat when you get up, like having to do the last one out of the classroom so no one saw it, or having to tie my hoodie around my waist because it had leaked through my trousers and there was nothing I could do about it. And having to go through that since so young, like, it's just horrible to think about. Finally, we went back to the doctors and I got referred to the gynecologist, and they put me on the pill. That didn't last long. It lasted 2 days on that because it made me feel so sick, like I could not handle it. So went back. They said I could try the patch, which is like a small square sticker that you just stick like on your thigh, or I don't know, on your lower back, so it's really discreet, and you change it every week until the week of your period, and then you take a break. So which worked. I was probably on that for maybe 9 months or something. and it did control my periods better, but they were still really heavy. I went back to the doctors and they put me on tranexamic acid, which actually really helped. Like, if anyone has heavy periods, that is a lifesaver. Like, it literally made my periods like a third as heavy as they were. So that really helped. But then when I was 14, they started making me really, really depressed and anxious, and I've had anxiety like since I was probably like 4 or 5, so I've had it all my life, but I mean, I feel like this just triggered it, and I ended up being off school for 6 months because I got into such a dark place at such a young age. Like, I was terrified to leave my house. I wouldn't leave my room. Like, it was really awful, and now I've just kind of blocked that all out my head. So after that, I tried the pill, another pill. As soon as I tried it again, it made me feel really sick. The doctors were like, stick to it for 3 months. It will take that long for it to properly work. And of course, it didn't work. It didn't help my periods. It made me feel sick. Like, it just made it worse pretty much. After that, I think I took a break from contraception because it was just ruining my mental health, and they just made me feel rubbish. Like, nothing was helping. Feeling exhausted every single day, and because of how much it was affecting my school, like, I was off for a week every month. I'd also have to take time off for my mental health because I didn't feel like I could mentally be in school, which also affected my education, my relationship with teachers. Like, everything basically went downhill a bit longer than a year and a half ago. My gynecologist suggested trying the IUD, so I was really scared because, I was reading things like everyone's like, oh my gosh, getting it put in hurts more than childbirth, and I was like, oh my god. Didn't get the numbing injection because I'm scared of needles, so I didn't get anything to help with it basically, and I didn't even find it that sore, to be honest, and it really wasn't that bad for me. It felt like some mild cramps, and that's literally it. So I was really relieved, and because of the amount of vaginal examinations and the amount of times that doctors and gynecologists have looked down there is ridiculous. So I was used to it by then, so that wasn't a problem for me. It was uncomfortable, but it doesn't bother me. So yeah, after I got the IUD put in, I was in loads of pain. Like, I got cramps for maybe the first at least 4 or 5 months, bleeding for that long as well. Like, my bleeding didn't calm down until about 6 months. Everything's supposed to settle down, but I just wanted to stick to it. Nothing had worked for me before, so I was just begging that this would work. And it did. After 6 months of absolute hell, it finally started working, and my periods stopped completely. So for the whole of last summer, I didn't have a single period. I was hardly in pain. It was literally a dream come true. I'd been waiting for this day, and I thought everything was going to be fine until 6 months after, a year after it got put in, I started getting my period again every month, and I have since then, and I started getting extremely bad cramps. I mean, I've always had really bad cramps. It was nothing compared to this. Like, I could not move. I couldn't get out of bed for, it started off at about 2 weeks a month. I was in bed, like, unable to do anything. And then once it got to Christmas time and I was visiting my family, I was in bed for that whole trip pretty much because my cramps were unbearable, and I was taking the highest dose of cocodamol and ibuprofen, anti-sickness tablets, because I started feeling nauseous every single day. I knew something had gone wrong because everything just changed so dramatically. So every single month my pain started getting worse and worse and worse until January, there was about 3 weeks of the month that I was in pain. So there was only a week of the month that I was feeling okay to go out and do anything. I couldn't revise for my prelims because I was so ill. I couldn't focus on anything. All I could do was sleep. I started off with 5 hires at the start of the year, and I failed 3 of them because I wasn't able to revise. So that was really hard. But, you know, I felt like I could do it because last year I missed so much school as well. And all my teachers thought I was going to fail my exams, and I passed all of them. So I was feeling hopeful. I was like, you know what? I can do it this year. Like, I just got to get my head down and just revise as much as I can, like when I can. That was my plan. I was going to start revising straight after prelims, which never happened because my pain was getting worse. So I went back to the doctors in February, maybe late February, and they were like, okay, we're gonna get you an ultrasound. And I've had 2 ultrasounds before to look to see if there's anything wrong, and they both were completely fine. So I went into that ultrasound on March 15th, thinking, you know, this is pointless, like they're not gonna find anything, they've never found anything wrong. And they did, and it was really, really hard for me. They found a 7 centimeter endometrioma on my left ovary, and I burst into tears as soon as they told me because I was so shocked. Like, I did not think that anything was going to show up, and something did. And, you know, it's a pretty large cyst as well. I was like, this is not good. But at least I found out why I'd been in so much pain, because I'd had a massive cyst going on my ovary. The day actually I found out that I had a cyst was my 6-year period anniversary, which was great. And after that, my mum had called my gynecologist, and luckily I got referred to the specialist team for endometriosis here in Edinburgh, which is great. And luckily I got seen 2 or 3 weeks after, just 2 days before my birthday, and we decided that the next step was surgery. It got to the point where I had 3 days a month where I felt okay to do anything, and that is not okay for anyone, especially a teenager that's like sitting hires and stuff. Like, that's just not okay. That's not manageable. So that's what we decided to do. I kind of felt defeated at this point because it had kind of sunk in, you know, this is what it is. I've tried everything and nothing's worked. This is basically the last resort, and I can finally officially get diagnosed. I mean, it had been long enough. It had been 6 years, so they've been saying, like, you're too young, the risks outweigh the benefits, which is not true at all. Like, I did not have a life. I'm now going into 6th year, and ever since 1st year, my school life has been absolutely rubbish. I wanted to get my social life back. I want to have a chance at life again. This year I was only able to sit 1 of my exams out of 5 because I was so sick. I ended up in hospital for a week during my exams, which is great. So I'm gonna have to sit them again next year. A week and a half before I ended up in hospital was when I had my MRI. I also found out after that that my 7 centimeter cyst on my left ovary had actually gone, and now there is another 7 centimeter cyst on my right ovary. In the space of a month and a half, when I ended up in hospital, they actually did another ultrasound to check that cyst. A week and a half after my MRI, I saw that my 7 centimeter cyst had actually shrunk down to a 4 centimeter cyst, and I haven't had it checked since then, so that was about 3 weeks ago. I'm still in pain. I'm just hoping that the surgery works. So next Wednesday, the 12th of June, is when I'm going in for surgery. I want to raise awareness for this, especially in teenage girls like me, because so many people have never heard of it and probably got this too, and they don't know. This has affected my life in so many different ways. Things that I haven't spoken about in this video, you know, the symptoms I get every single day, the list goes on. Another thing that's been really hard for me is feeling isolated and alone, because I don't know anyone my age that has to go through this. I've got my mum, but you know, it's nice to have someone to relate to and support. So if you want to message me, feel free to. And I don't want other people to feel like this. I don't want other people to feel alone or isolated when they can't go out with their friends, or when people at school saying there's nothing wrong with you, like thinking you're just skiving school. It's hard for people to understand. Not enough research is being done. It's not spoken about enough, like periods in general, the struggles women go through. That's why I think everyone should speak about it. So many of us are struggling. But overall, I think having this does make you stronger mentally, emotionally, but it's hard to accept. So thanks so much for watching. I'm gonna try and make a video about my surgery next week and what happened. So hopefully I'll post that soon after this. And if you want to message me, then you can leave a comment down below or message me on Instagram. Hope this can help someone. Thanks so much.